Are the Arizona Cardinals on the verge of creating a perennial playoff contender? What kind of moves could Monty Ossenfort make? Could he swerve? Could he bend that corner? Whoa,
I don't know what
Johnny
those
Venerable?
words mean. I don't know what you're saying, but I'm going to tell you right now, the Arizona Cardinals need more wide receivers. PHNX Cardinals starts now. Hey, welcome in live from Studio K, presented by our friends Circle K. It's the PHNX Cardinals podcast, the #1 Arizona Cardinal podcast in the world. I'm Johnny Venerable. He's Brack in Studio K. Damon, Dawg, producer behind the microphone today. We got so much to talk about, but first I want to tell everybody about our friends at Bet365, the presenting sponsor today. Download the app, of course, the bonus code PHNX365 when you sign up. Choose your offer. Find out why, whatever the moment. It's never ordinary with Bet365. We're going to be taking a look at some postseason lines with our friends at Bet365 later in the show. What are you laughing at? Are you laughing at these comments here?
Yeah, the pre-show chat was not only is the chat on fire during the show, but right before the start of the show, you just take a gander. You got Didi saying JV he eats his Snickers with a fork and a knife. You got JV eating tacos with a fork and a knife. How about eating your chips with chopsticks, man? I mean, and then there, I think someone saying, "How dare you self-proclaim yourself the wing king?"
Here's what I want to say. I'm trying to stay away from those sweets and those saturated carbs. All right, your boy is trying to get fit, trying to get lean for this offseason. And I have dabbled before in, black bean burger. It's not my favorite thing. I see turkey dogs being thrown out there.
Yeah.
Those aren't the headliners, though. The headliners are the wings that I enjoy more than anybody. I'm a wing connoisseur. And if anybody came out to Gila River Resorts and Casinos this year, they'd see me eating wings, whether it's the early kickoff, the late kickoff, the one Saturday primetime game. So
you're not a traditional wing connoisseur, though.
What does that mean?
Like, remember old Sean DePaz from Rough Buff back in the day?
Yeah, I don't remember him.
He would say, it has to be Hollywood, Hollywood Sean DePaz, no doubt about it. It's got to be buffalo sauce and it's got to be blue cheese. I don't think you subscribe to either one of them.
No, I'll eat any kind of wing. There's not a wing I won't eat.
Yeah.
Teriyaki, honey barbecue, lemon pepper. Yeah, that's right. I like this one, for short, Johnny Dumbbells. That's right. Johnny Dumbbells here. Trying to make some moves, trying to get lean, trying to get fit in the offseason. Because the offseason, really, in a perfect segue, is when it's time to level up, folks.
Yeah.
I teased this on yesterday's show. And yes, we like to throw dirt on the Niners. They are dead. The Cardinals swept them. But if you think for a second, after the disastrous season that the Niners had, that they're going to sit back and kick their feet up, you are outside your mind. Same with Seattle. They're talking about upgrading a quarterback. And then, of course, the Rams are the Rams. The Niners are supposedly trying to get Robert Saleh back to coordinate their egregious defense, right? If you're the Arizona Cardinals, you're running it back. Unless Drew Petzing gets the Bears job, you're running it back with your coaching staff. The coaching staff this year, they let a playoff berth slip through their fingers. So, again, I have confidence in Jonathan Gannon and this team, but we can't sit here. I can't break down a Justin Jones-esque free agency tour again. I need major moves. That's the only way this franchise is going to go from here to here. Raise the bar. And that is the topic of discussion on today's show, Bo. How do the Cardinals, in your opinion, what do they need to do to get to that next level? Whether it's trades, free agency signings, acquisitions of any kind. Like, if I just gave you a blank canvas, what do you think the Cardinals need to do this offseason to get to that next level?
Yeah, you have to really kind of take inventory of this previous season, right? And you saw, I think, a team that was close, right? They were knocking on the door, and there was some great performances, and you can look at some numbers and be blown away by some numbers. But at the same time, it was a team that didn't get it done. That could have maybe made their life a little bit more comfortable as they played in an eroding division, as you always like to say in the NFC West, by maybe getting out to some leads earlier on. We look at the offensive line, and it's been one of the most consistent units of the team. But like, can it be a bully? Can it be like what we've seen in San Francisco for so many years? That's anchored by their left tackle Trent Williams. Can Paris Johnson Jr. take on that role? And can you kind of maybe bolster the interior of that offensive line a little bit more, make life easier on Kyler Murray, the run game, what you want to do there. And then, of course, this defense, as you've been talking about, since the post-game show, creating more opportunities for Kyler Murray, putting itself in a position to, take the ball away because of a ferocious defensive front seven, an NFL caliber one, an NFL bully caliber front seven that they've lacked since JG came to Arizona from Philadelphia after a run to the Super Bowl with the Eagles defense that racked up over 70 sacks. And what do? What comes hand in hand with the ability to rush and cover? Interception, 17 picks that season. I think the Arizona Cardinals would stand to really emphasize and get aggressive as far as rebuilding the defensive front seven.
Yeah, I just feel like you look at the teams around the league that are consistently involved with the postseason, and they are aggressive in free agency. Yes, they develop through the draft, and you don't want to be the Washington football team, what formerly was the Redskins of the 1990s with Dan Snyder, early 2000s, where you're paying aging players. Yeah. This franchise, I think the first step is we're going to find out what kind of a recruiter Monty Austinford is. Because I heard a lot of that offseason last year. The chatter was, well, the Cardinals wanted big name free agents, but they couldn't get it done, right? The Cardinals not a desirable place to play. I don't buy that. I think if you're offering major dollars, you're in the conversation. Now, can you close? That's a different question, right? And the Cardinals played it safe last free agency period, and it still, in my opinion, didn't go great. So you might as well roll the dice on some marquee names, and we're going to break them down throughout the duration of this offseason. But let's just use Josh Sweat as an example, because that's somebody that we're going to talk about ad nauseum. Hassan Reddick, also a free agent, but Sweat in particular, 27 years old. 2 years ago, he had 11 and a half sacks, a career high under Jonathan Gannon. Has been a consistent starter, edge presence for a Philadelphia team that's in the playoff mix every year. That's right now, on the verge of, they are the 2 seed in the NFC. Cardinal fans are educated, and they're going to know what free agents are available. If Josh Sweat reaches free agency and he's 2 years removed of having double-digit sacks for Jonathan Gannon, and he's under 30 years old, that's the first box you got to check, in my opinion. I know Hassan Reddick will talk about it's not everybody's cup of tea, and you're not breaking the bank with him. If Josh Sweat, and this is where I push back on what you said, needs the Jonathan Grenard contract, but from the Cardinals to feel content, sorry, that's the price. Inflation, things are going up. 8-sack season, but let's see what kind of noise he makes in the playoffs right now. He has to come in here, and you have to put yourself in a position to outbid people. That's what this offseason has to be about.
Yeah. I look around and, certain publications are starting to put out, one free agent for every team, and they must have. And like, I open up Pro Football Focus, and I'm excited because I respect, a lot of the people that put in hard work over there. And I see the Arizona Cardinals, and it's like, DJ Reed from the Jets, the cornerback. He's like,
educate yourself, PFF.
Stop. Like this is a team that is dragged its feet for whatever, didn't see the opportunity or whatever for the front seven. This is the offseason. You can't delay any longer. You have to get out there. And if you get outbid by a team, that almost has that's something I think you can say, hey, that's unacceptable. You have to identify who it is and then go win the negotiation and start to make some serious upgrades to this defensive front seven, because it really feels like the rest of the team, for the most part, is in place. Like the defensive secondary, if you want to add a depth piece, go ahead at the end of free agency, but it better not be one of the priority tampering guys that you see, even though it's a decent class. So like when you start to look at it, like you've got interior defensive line And, you're going to see a guy like Poona Ford potentially play for the Chargers on over the weekend. And if he hits the market, you got to be, one of the first teams to call about him. And then you talk about the edge room. You've got to, I think, really get a guy to start to revamp that, because otherwise it's the definition of insanity. Like, we're going to look at a chart here later in the show that just shows how little impact you truly got, as far as creating pressure on opposing offenses.
Yeah, and I think Cardinal fans, like, you've had 2 off seasons to kind of fly under the radar with your free agent additions. Like, hey, we're going to sign X player and look what they're going to do in our scheme, right? That was supposed to be Baron Browning at the trade deadline. That was supposed to be the defensive tackles you added last year. Like, Cardinal fans are not going to be sold a bill of good, Bo Brock, in March this year with a free agent addition of a guy who has 4 or 5 sacks. We'll just wait till he's a part of our culture and what we like to do defensively. That's hogwash. Nobody wants to hear that, right? Guys who have that kind of limitations rushing the quarterback are available for a reason, and they're getting paid a court. Like, you can find a Mack Wilson Sr. and talk about a scheme fit and have him come and flourish. The kind of players that the Cardinals need to go out and spend money on are always going to get paid in free agency. We talked about it last year. Renard was the easiest layup for this team to go after, but there was Bryce Huff. There was, Justin Matabuke, but inevitably was signed by Baltimore.
Yeah.
I'm pretty sure the Cardinals were going to make a pursuit of him before he was signed by Baltimore. And then, of course, Wilkinson that ended up going from Miami to Las Vegas. Wilkins. All those guys get signed. All those guys get big money because all those guys produce. Now, they can have up and down years. You're not finding diamonds in the rough of guys who rush the passer in free agency. They're proven for a reason. And again, if you're Monty Ossenford and you feel like you can't close with this franchise, number one, that's an indictment of you, and number two, okay, then use your second round pick and go acquire a player. Do what Steve Keim did. And again, we rip on Steve Keim a lot on this show.
Hey.
Hey. I'm going to tell you right now. No. Hang on a second.
Hey.
Here's the compliment I'll give Steve. The 2 areas, well, there were many areas that he whiffed on. A constant for him, couldn't get the pass rusher right, couldn't get the wide receiver right. So what did he do? He flipped a second round pick twice for DeAndre Hopkins and Chandler Jones, right? Those kind of deals every offseason are obtainable. We talked about Brian Burns last year. Go and call every team and ask about their best pass rusher. Call about Jeffrey Simmons and your old stomping grounds in Tennessee. Guess what? They've got a new GM. We don't even know who the hell's going to be GMing that team. Those are the kind of moves you need to be making if you're Monty Ossenford.
Yeah.
And those would qualify as big moves. Go get somebody's best front 7 defender that can generate pressure, because their timeline, like Tennessee's timeline, is, guess what? We have the number 1 overall pick. How much can Jeffrey Simmons really help us? Those are the kind of deals we want to see.
I'll tell you what, one thing I'm definitely rooting for are the Green Bay Packers this upcoming weekend. Like, I don't want to watch Josh Sweat just potentially boost his free agent number this offseason with a deep playoff run with the Eagles. It pained me to see that organization and the head coaching fraud benefit from that too. But like, the reality is they got one of the most stacked rosters in the conference. So yeah, rooting heavy for the Packers, because you want to see that price that's already going to probably be, a little bit higher than it should be, just by out of necessity need at the pass rush position. But I think what you saw and what last year proved to you that was not necessarily the case before, and, buyer beware, is, you can find talent free agent wise. Like, there was once an offseason where it's like the free agent class didn't yield a single Pro Bowler. Not a single one. And I think that, this day and age, there are also agents that see the benefit from those guys not, signing an extension and staying with their current team and going out there and playing the market and commanding top dollar, because you can see the rewards of that. And I think Josh Sweat's going to be one of those guys that absolutely happens for. But the Arizona Cardinals, I think, have the luxury now with the back-to-back draft classes that they've had. You see what Kyler's contract looks like now against the cap, with an ever-increasing salary cap, to go out there and take a couple big swings at the plate and hopefully connect on a couple long balls here in free agency. It's just, you stand to gain so much. It's not what do you have to lose. It's you stand to gain so much as an organization at this point in your rebuild, to really kind of supplement this roster that is proven to be right where it needs to be.
Yeah. Like, you want to talk about the timeline for the people who were staunchly committed to the rebuild this year. And there were many people in our mention saying, doesn't matter that they're losing games. They're right along where they should be, right around 500. Okay, to those people, what do you do now? Because are you overtaking the NFC West? Because that should be the goal next year. It should not just be to make the playoffs. The goal should be to win an obtainable division. Who is doing that for? How are you getting there, right? If you feel like you're close, if you were 3 wins away, you beat the Panthers, the Vikings, and the Seahawks, and maybe the Rams 3 or 4 games like you should have done, who is helping you finish off those games? I think defensively, multiple defensive front 7 players. And here's what I'll say about Monty Ossenford, Bo. He's built up a secondary chef's kiss, right?
Yeah.
He's revamped offensive skill players. They've elevated with coaching Trey McBride. The offensive line is way better, and they're going to add supplemental pieces. But he's had 2 off seasons to attack the front 7 in particular. How many cornerstone pieces, I'm going to put you on the spot right now, do the Cardinals have on their front 7 where you're like stud, stud, stud out of the front 7, 4 defensive linemen, couple linebackers? How many cornerstone players would you say Ossenford has acquired?
1. 27th overall pick. And like,
maybe a Mac Wilson Sr.
Sure.
on the perimeter, fringe. We'll give you 2. We'll give you 2.
Yeah, and I think you've got some really good depth guys. Like, I think Dante Stills is a really good depth guy, and I think that Zaven Collins, part of a cast of outside linebackers, has a significant role that he can play in there. As far as like the main role, the starring role that you need from your edge, as far as going and getting after a quarterback and getting him on the turf. And Jonathan Gannon can say all he wants to say that sacks aren't a winning stat, but they won him a lot of games in Philadelphia.
Lost you some games this year too.
Right. So I think that you can say, and that's not a knock. I think there's some very good complementary pieces that they've acquired, because it was complete. Like, the cover was completely barren. It was like you let Zach Allen walk, and I'll agree with that because of the state of your organization. It was staring down a full on rebuild. And you probably would have had to pay come over the top over Denver in order to keep him just to stay here staring down a full on rebuild. But yeah, you need to start. Like, I think you've got your your role players in place. Now you got to find the star power. Now you got to find the true impact makers. Like you're saying, in crunch time, when you need a defense to get off the field, and like first down, you got some guy that's going to go blow up a running back in the backfield and put the opposing offense behind the sticks, and then force either a penalty, draw a flag, or get a negative play that immediately puts you in a good spot to get the ball back. Like, we just didn't see that. Like, we saw a bend don't break defense. I'll continue to pound the table for this defense and Nick Rollis's crew and how admirable it was and how they were the most consistent group on unit on this team. But at the same time, they did lack that ability to consistently get those negative plays to put opposing offenses, back in a position for 3 and outs and getting off the field quickly.
I'm going to do something I don't like to do. I'm going to make an argument against acquiring a marquee pass rusher using the 16th overall pick. And I'm going to do that right around the corner. Max Crosby, Myles Garrett. I'm going to make the case against doing that. And I'm going to tell you why. That's coming up. It is gross, but I'll tell you what will help. It'll make you feel better about yourself, is going out to Gila River Resorts and Casinos. We mentioned it earlier. Wild Horse Pass, the side of our watch party. Drop a like if you're so inclined. Drop a like if you've been out to a watch party and had a blast. They've got 4,500 slots, live table games, and more. Go big or go home, from upscale to approachable, casual to classy, from bar to bar none. Their selection of dining options are always in good taste. We have such a blast when we're out there. Cardinals just didn't win enough games, but thank goodness we were there having great vibes, great food, great fun with our friends at Gila River Resorts and Casinos. And again, Suns watch parties are ongoing there. And who knows, PHNX Cardinals, we might have a couple surprises in store.
They're called group therapy sessions.
Yeah, they are. They are. No. I mean, there's just poor Gila. They're like, can we buy a win? Can we buy a win at a watch party? Well, we're going to try to get some off-season wins for our friends at Gila. Join us. We got some PHNX lives coming up. Myself, Bo, Damon, and maybe some special guests. We'll have tickets and information about that soon. You do you at Gila River Resorts and Casinos. Visit playatgila.com for more details, Bo.
And PHNX fam, we all know that you love good flower, right? It's tough to find these days. And our friends over at Cult Cannabis, they're actually making it easier for you with their incredible collaborations with our friends over at True Leave. They've been dropping absolute fire here at PHNX Studios, and now you can find them at your local True Leave. You're looking for that flower, they've got it for you. That's right. True Leave has a huge variety of premium flower. The goods, folks, the absolute goods, including highly sought after True Leave exclusive magic marker. Our ad man, Max, is actually just throwing me the goods right now from Colt Cannabis. It's stinking up our studio. My God, it's stinking it up in the
That's
best.
how you know it's good stuff.
Yeah, it's pungent in the best way. Valley's been asking for it, and she's back. Check it out right now. And there's more. Mark your calendars because True Leave is opening a brand new location in Johnny's old stomping grounds, Maricopa, on January 11th. That's just days away. So what are you waiting for? Visit trueleave.com. Find your shop near you. Place an order. And here's the key. Tell them PHNX Cardinals sent you. This is unbelievable.
What's unbelievable? The smell?
Yeah.
Take a big whiff of it.
By the way, I mean,
that's a secondhand high type of situation in here. That's how strong Colt is.
I'm freaking out, Damon.
Be responsible.
Yeah. Freaking out, man.
By the way, what are you going to say?
How much did I have too much? I saw that our friends Cardinals update posted Justin Bethel. He retired today. Yeah, there you go. Thank you for your service. Former special teams ace. But when you bring up the Suns, it reminds me of old Justin Bethel and the infamous quote from Bruce Arians when he said Justin Bethel as a cornerback was a failure in progress for the Cardinals. One of the most ruthless press conference quotes from BA of all time.
Love that, man. DJ Humphrey's not a fan of Bruce Arians. Great stuff. Drop a like on this video. We almost got 800 people watching live already. We appreciate you all. Hit that like. Okay. I'm going to start off this argument by saying I am pro Max Crosby, Myles Garrett, or Micah Parsons, although Micah Parsons is talking about Cowboys winning a Super Bowl next year. I don't think he's leaving. I am pro Myles Garrett, Max Crosby as an Arizona Cardinal. However, and here's my argument, okay? I am almost very, very well convinced, unanimously convinced, probably not even the right term of phrase, that it's going to take multiple first-round picks to get either of them. Both are the number one player for their franchise. It'd be like dealing prime Larry Fitzgerald. Myles Garrett, number one Brown. Max Crosby, number one Las Vegas Raider, right? It's going to take you multiple first-round picks, okay? So are you trading a first-round pick in 2026 when you might need a quarterback? I don't think the Cardinals want any part of that. Let's pretend for a second, though, Bo, it doesn't take multiple first-rounders. And it's like a first and a third this year and maybe like a 2 next year, right? And Cardinal fans are like, that sounds a little bit more intriguing. I am still on the fence, and I'll tell you why. Because you're inheriting Myles Garrett's salary or Max Crosby, right? One of the highest-paid players on the team. I think then it does not allow Austin Ford to remain aggressive. I don't think you're one Myles Garrett, Max Crosby away defensively. I think you need 3 front 7 impact players that's added, another D tackle and 2 edge rushers. I almost feel like the best course of action, and I can be persuaded by you here, is to sign the best available edge rusher in free agency, one of the best defensive tackles available in free agency, and then use the number 16th overall pick on an edge rusher. So then you have youth in the pipeline, you've got depth, you've got your stalwart like a Josh Sweat, and then you've got another defensive tackle that can disrupt. If you want to trade your second for like a Jeffrey Simmons, do that. I don't think that you can slap Max Crosby on the sieve of a defensive line and say, that fixes everything. We're good now. I've seen the Raiders look like ass on NFL Sundays with Max Crosby because they got nothing else next to him. I would have concerns about that. I think don't give Austin Ford now where it's like, well, I'm just going to pay one guy. No, you need to pay multiple people. You need to pay multiple people.
look, have you been looking at my notes? Because that's exactly the plan I had hatched. I think you spend that money in free agency on both positions because there's a need for it. And I know what's coming back, and I know what you already have on the books and Nichols and Jones and what you've invested draft capital.
Oh,
and congrats, you've hit, I think, on Darius and Dante Stills. And we talked about the numbers crunch that creates. But I think you have to really kind of, this is where Monty Ossenfort, he's shown the ability as far as drafts kind of, and this would become before, like way before the players and the prospects start coming off the board,
right?
Is kind of take a pulse of where you can truly kind of upgrade the most, like where you're going to have the best opportunity to upgrade in the interior defensive line. Is that in this draft, which they're flush with talent at that position, an interior defensive line, or are you going to be able to be in a position at 16 to get, one of the top edges at their position, or is it going to already be, picked dry? Yeah, I mean, but that's really what you're going to have to forecast. Like, you're going to have to be way better than Joe Shane and forecast than, Saquon Barkley's, marketability free agents wise. Like, you're going to have to be way better than that.
I think that you need to get another developmental front seven player to go with Darius. And for everybody screaming at me about B.J. Ojulari, I think you're year to year with that, and you hope for the best. But he's coming off major surgery. He's been hurt both years. I think you need another defensive tackle / edge rusher to go with Darius. That's cheap. That's a high pick. And I know there are a lot of people saying Darius was underwhelming this year. I can't emphasize this to you enough. He was likely hurt at the end of this year, and he was the best defensive lineman they had at training camp. Veteran, young, old, doesn't matter. He can play. He will be, if he stays healthy next year, he will be awesome. He will have 5+ sacks. He'll be disruptive. He had an awful, miserable year off the field. He lost his mom. I mean, you just got to chalk it up as very unfortunate. But I believe in Darius Robinson. Outside of that, I think you got to add another youthful front four player with him. Yeah. And then I think you got to go out and add 2 impact defensive linemen. Edge rusher, D tackle. And I'm not opposed to adding 2 pass rushers. It comes down to Zaven, Ojulari are under contract. Lucetta, does he stick around? There's not enough juice at that position. And you will never unlock the potential of Gannon and Rollis if you don't flush that position group. It's like you're going to a, I don't even know the term of phrase here, but knife to gunfight traditionally is the term. Like, that's what it feels like. Like that, hey, Nick Rollis can elevate you beyond what you thought this year. Imagine what he can do.
Or Nick Rollis has been bringing a plastic spork to those fights.
Oh yeah. Let's have a nice Caesar salad here. Oh no, everybody else has pass rushers and good players.
Yeah, that's I think this offseason, and also what you have in house already with Darius and Dante Stills, like, there is going to probably be a point where you're going to have to be patient because there is so much talent interior defensive line, and where you have to be aggressive, really be aggressive to upgrade is the edge.
Yeah.
I just don't know if what the inventory is not there. Like, the supply, the demand is way more than the supply right now as far as that goes. I mean, you're going to have to, like, we've seen like Gardeck, Browning, Dumakaji, Aquaro, like that entire room is outside of Zaven and who else? Like, potentially Lucetta is free agent. So like you could be staring down a facelift, and you should be like just seeing if different athletes can maybe be more productive. But I think that, I mean, that's just you bring back Browning if that's something that you can easily do, and then really look at somebody that's gonna make an impact. And you can't rely, like you said, on B.J. Ojulari any longer. I think that's a bit naive. That's a bit foolish.
And
if he turns out to be a guy, if he's a dude,
awesome,
great.
we'll talk to Austin Ford at the combine. We'll get an update on Ojulari's recovery. But I mean,
he talks to me. I mean, he says by my name. I mean, I don't even know if he knows who you are.
I'm sorry. What, excuse me?
I mean, it's documented.
I will stand there in front of Monty Austin Ford. I will be the first person in line, like I always am, and I will ask the questions people want asked. We always do it. I do it. We go to the group, we go to the chat the week of the combine, and we ask people, and I take it down on my notepad and say, what questions you want me to ask Austin Ford? Go and check the tape 2 years ago. Everybody said new uniforms, and I asked him about new uniforms, and then we got new uniforms. You're welcome.
I was just going to ask Damon if he knew what one of your key questions, the opening of Monty Austin Ford's tenure as GM.
Like, I'm just trying to clean up this mess.
Yeah. Excuse me. I know you're facing a huge, your first draft ever, but are these guys going to get new jerseys?
Number one, I don't talk like that. Number two, it was more like, Monty, have you seen the Cardinals uniforms? They're atrocious. Can we do something about them? And then he did.
Monty, what's up, brother? Johnny here. Maybe we grab a beer after this. What do you think about the jerseys?
Maybe grab a seltzer after this.
He was Derek at dinner in Step Brothers. He was like, I don't know.
I mean, who is this guy? Hey, Monty, do you like turkey dogs? Why is the chat so hurtful to me today? All right.
Because they love you, Johnny.
Here's what I'm going to say. I didn't make a case for Max Crosby or Myles Garrett. Around the corner, I'm going to make a case for the Arizona Cardinals to sign T. Higgins. That's coming up.
Oh, God.
Bo's getting his barf bag ready. Puke into a hat. Just don't puke into a branded Bills hat because it's elite. Bonus code PHNX, $20 off or 20% off your first order. Elevate your brand with branded Bills, the perfect headwear and apparel. Whether you need snapbacks, truckers, fitteds, beanies, or tees, Branded Bills has you covered with performance and style. They're my favorite hats to wear, point blank. Plus, locally owned and operated here out of Mesa, Arizona. They have partnerships with ASU, U of A, and now PHNX. PHNX Sports. Go to the merchandise locker, go PHNX.com. Pick up a Branded Bills hat. They've got the best custom headwear for your business as well. Head to BrandedBills.com. Again, bonus code PHNX is going to get you 20% off your first order. It's my favorite hat. I love them. And again, these are great too, but Branded Bills, the next level in headwear, BrandedBillsBo.com.
Love the Branded Bills. Also love what's going on, of course, with Arizona's most rewarded vehicle dealership, of course, Sanderson Ford, our official vehicle partner. If you're in the market for a new ride, no better place than Sanderson Ford in Glendale. For over 70 years, Sanderson Ford has been a proud part of our community, of course, woven within the fabric of the great 48th state, thriving thanks to their 500 amazing employees that deliver exceptional customer service, and they thrive on that no hassle, no pressure, no nonsense sales approach. And here's the scoop as far as Sanderson Ford goes. It's not just any dealership. Their massive 65-acre facility in the West Valley is the largest Ford dealership in the nation. When it comes to sales, their retail fleet, you name it, they sell more Fords than anyone in the country. It's unreal. Right now, you can get a 2024 F-150 truck, 3.9% APR, financing for 66 months, plus up to $4,000 cash back. Choose from any of the over 700 pre and new vehicles on the lot. And what are you waiting for? Stop by Sanderson Ford today. Enjoy that no nonsense, no pressure, no hassle approach, and tell them PHNX Sports sent you. My God. Tell them they sent you. Us.
Yeah. We'd like to send you straight to the like button if you'd be so inclined to smash that like. We've got 900 people watching, which is super humbling.
It's on a random Wednesday.
It's boring, but it's part of our life. Smash that like button. Subscribe to PHNX Sports. This is the number one Arizona Cardinal podcast in the world. And it's because of all of you. We appreciate that. And we try to raise the standard with this franchise and, you know, little baby steps with our Sweet Baby cards. There's Marv. He's telling you hit that like button. Bo didn't like the next topic of conversation that I'm bringing up today. First, before I preface the T. Higgins conversation, I want to pull up the Cardinals wide receiving room entering 2025. Bo, avert your eyes. Here we go. It's Marvin Harrison Jr., ever heard of him? Our boy Michael Wilson. And then Greg Dortch, who we don't know, restricted free agent, will be back. Tajon Palmer, a 6th-round pick. Xavier Weaver, undrafted rookie. That is it. Andre Baccellia, maybe, but come on, what are we doing here? It is Marv, Michael, and maybe Greg Dortch. I think a lot of us saw this unit this year and said, could use some speed, maybe a veteran presence. Respect to Zay Jones. I don't think that was as fruitful as they thought. Chris Moore was cut abruptly. So, Bo Brock, I'm going to pose the question to you. Do the Cardinals need a veteran receiver, and why can't it be T. Higgins?
They do absolutely need a veteran receiver. I think that that would continue to add to this room. That's going to have year 3 Michael Wilson and year 2 Marvin Harrison Jr. Featured. But to go break the bank and invest, a ton of salary cap into a guy like T. Higgins, I just don't. I don't think that that's how the Arizona Cardinals want to spend their cap dollars this offseason. It just doesn't make sense to me. It doesn't feel like the path that they would go. But can they find somebody to complement these players instead of like get kind of co-headlining with Marvin Harrison Jr.? I think that's probably the best route for them. Like now go ahead and make your case, and we'll play Madden for a while.
Well, yeah, we all like Madden. He's going to make the projected contract from Spot Track is $27 million a year. And again, the Cardinals have the money. They have the money. T. Higgins, much younger than I suspected he is, only 25 years old. He will turn 26 like in a week and a half. So you're doing a 4-year deal with T. Higgins. You're getting hopefully the peak years of his NFL career. He's been in the league a long time. Didn't he come in the NFL? He's like 20 years old. Mm-hmm. He's 6'4". He runs a legitimate 4.4 40. We know Drew Petzing likes big receivers. I think the hesitation to use a guy like Dortch this year was undersized a little bit. Now the biggest concern I would have is not with anything with T. Higgins or the contract or the years or the money. It would be the usage under Drew Petzing. You would have to get it assured with Drew that the offense is going to evolve. I just think what would it do for a guy like Marvin Harrison Jr. and Michael Wilson to be able to move T. Higgins around, to be able to move Marvin around? I just think Bo, you're telling me right now, the Cardinals have almost $90 million in free agent money to spend. They're going to have increased salary cap this year. They can cut people to get money like Jonah Williams. You're telling me you wouldn't sign up for T. Higgins? T. Higgins with Kyler Murray in a make or break year? What are you making that face for? Who are you signing for?
Because you got to invest in the defense. You have to invest.
Well, you can do both.
You got premium positions abound, and wide receiver is one of the ones I don't think you have to make the case for. You can't go. It's malpractice to spend $27 million on T. Higgins.
Not when your passing game was
Who am I talking with right now? Is this Skip Bayless? Are you? Is that Skip? Are you?
Hang on, not this week. Don't do that this week. This is not the week.
Relax. Like this feels a little contrived for me. I'm not. I just don't think that the Cardinals would be anywhere close to hitting up T. Higgins for a contract.
Well, I think they've taken their medicine. They've drafted and developed 2 wide receivers who are making no money. That position group, they're not paying anybody. Marvin's on his rookie deal, albeit 4th overall.
And they can reallocate that money elsewhere on the roster. Like
you can still do that.
There's going to be a time to pay Marv like real soon. I don't think there's any case to be made for T. Higgins. I'm actually shocked that we're spending as much time on this as we are. You need an edge. Go spend if you go out there and get T. Higgins and you don't get an edge. I'm gonna have some serious questions to be asked.
I mean, you have 90 plus. You're gonna have $100 million conservatively.
Okay. Yeah.
And T. Higgins is gonna cost you $27 million a year. What are you doing with the rest of that money?
You don't.
What are you doing with the rest?
You're gonna go talk to your wife and be like, when I tried to spend on the show today, Cardinals getting T. Higgins, and she would even be like, "That's crazy. They don't need T. Higgins. You got it.
People not into T. Higgins in the chat right now.
They're also shaking their head. They're saying no.
Right.
I'd be way more into it. I'd be way more into it if he didn't have injury problems. I think if you're gonna splash and make a luxury signing like that, he can't be a guy that you expect to miss like a third of every season.
Well, do you have a free agent receiver at the top of your head that you'd like the Cardinals to pursue? You want me to rattle off a couple?
I mean, I'm looking at them right now. Like you've got
Scrub McGrub, Dirt
It's
McGirt.
not bad. I mean, there's some diamonds in the rough here.
Who are your diamonds? Come on now, let me hear them. You want to get the,
but you're not going to be going after the big fish. I really
get the walkers out for some of these older guys.
Think about the mouths you already have to feed. Your run first offense. You got James Conner.
Ooh.
And then you've got Trey McBride, who just had 110 catch season, 1,100 yards as your tight end.
You run too much. We all agree.
And then you're going to have Marvin Harrison Jr. Like between Trey and Marv, like those are the mouths that you have to focus on feeding. Adding a third to this wide receiver core, I think it's just it becomes it's excessive. That's what it is. It's absolutely excessive. If you want to start to look at like who they should be, maybe knocking around like a Darius Slayton.
No, bro.
Why are you saying no, bro?
I think T. Higgins,
like go out and get T. Higgins. And you're telling
me what was the conversation to start the show? Making moves that could turn them into a powerhouse. You're not Darius Slayton. Why am I spending 3/4 of the money on Darius Slayton that I could just step up and say I'm going to pay?
It's half the money.
You get what you pay for with that, though. What kind of over-the-top blue chip moves could the Cardinals make to have them win the NFC West? That would be a move to tell your fan base, we're investing in a player in his prime at 26 years old that fits a need. Like it or not, it fits a need. I'm not scoffing at that. The free agency, by the way, is not always going to be X's and O's, fits your needs to a T. It's like, okay, we have a need. Let's go out and just get the best player that at a position of need. Even though it's not 1A, it's not pass rusher, it's not defensive tackle. I would still say receiver and elevating the passing game is a top 1 to 2 need on the team, Bo. If it's not the pass rush, it's right behind that.
I disagree with that. I mean, I think adding depth pieces and potentially a starter you could say, yeah, that's a need, but it's not a top need. You know what the needs of this team, I don't know what this team has identified as a need.
Bootsy saying, me wanting T. Higgins is so on brand. Sorry, I want elite players in their prime to help this team win. Yeah, that's definitely on brand. Who do you want? You want somebody in their mid-30s we can shelve out a contract to? You guys enjoy
T. Higgins
being in the bottom tier, being able to throw the football?
To Jamar Chase. You want to come back and play second fiddle to Marvin Harrison Jr.?
He's getting paid.
Well, he wouldn't be second fiddle. Come on.
Wow. What are we doing? What are we doing,
Bo?
We used to stand for something on this show.
I mean, but you can't just say Marvin's better than T. Higgins when all we've seen is that's not true.
To be better than
hypothetically. We hope so, but on paper, T. Higgins would be the one.
Jalen saying improving the pass protection of the offensive line.
And I don't want. I think that you have to be confident in your decision to take Marvin Harrison Jr. 4th overall. You don't put somebody that's going to take up targets.
I'm with you on that.
They had one of the best pass protecting offensive lines in the NFL, Jalen. They gave up 30 sacks. It's not an offensive line problem. I do think they need to upgrade guards.
I think there is a way to improve the offensive line. You know that.
Well, sure. But that's not – the offensive line was good this year. I watched them play against Carolina. The offensive line was fine. They had backup tackles in there.
Carolina stinks.
But they lost that game because they couldn't throw the football at the end. I'm asking you, Bo, save for replacing the quarterback, how are you getting better – with your intermediate to deep passing game, unless you're like just assuming everything's going to be fine. We're just going to run it back. You were the one who told me at the end of the year they got to make changes with this passing game for it to be able to elevate. Is it just schematics with you? Is that what you think is going to be fixed?
I think it's more schematics. It's not like, hey, we got to go out there and aggressively pursue the top pass catcher on the market. Like I'm with Book here, who's in the chat. He's saying develop MHJ. That is the absolute right.
We're not flushing that down the toilet with this. I think this is an investment in Marv, saying we're going to take away some coverage.
It's tough to have this conversation because of the market that T. Higgins, if he eventually hits the open market, is going to command. It should price the Cardinals out as far as where they need to invest their cap dollars. And how much they could realistically spend at the wide receiver position, and
they're not spending any money at the position right now. They're not spending a dime,
and that's great because they need to go out and get the best defensive front 7 players possible.
Would you consider wide receiver a premium position?
It's on the fringe. If you've got if it's one of those ones, if you've got a wide receiver on your team that's going to get 10 catches a game, absolutely.
I'm going to list the highest paid players on the Arizona Cardinals in 2025. Okay. Kyler Murray, $43 million. Okay. Number 2, Jonah Williams, who will be cut, we assume. Number 3, Jalen Thompson, making $13 million. Is he on the team? Number 4, Justin Jones. We're not sure he can play. And then Budda Baker and Sean Murphy-Bunting. That's not a great group. You could make an argument that group and the money that you're allocating to that group, and I would include Kyler Murray based on his performance, is why you didn't make the playoffs. I didn't read Trey McBride in that group, and he's not going to be included in that in 2025. If they extend him, it'll be 2026. What I'm saying is go out and spend big money on elite talent to come here and get you over the hump. I'm not trying to nickel and dime Darius Slayton so that I can be just a middling team. It's crazy to think about. You have an opportunity to go and do something like this, and we're just scoffing at it. I'm not saying it's likely.
What would the Cardinals benefit more from? Going out there getting a premium edge or getting a premium wide receiver?
You don't think this team can do both? If there's ever a year to spend in free agency.
For those in the chat saying, like, hey, we once had Larry Anquan and Steve Breston, like, that's not what I'm saying. Like, T. Higgins on the Cardinals, yes, does it make him a better team? But I just don't think that that's where you need to invest your resources. I think that you have to go and get, and upgrade the defensive front 7. Mike, why get T when you already have
issue with getting T. Higgins, in my opinion, is we got an offensive coordinator.
Are you going to get on? Do you honestly stand by this? But you're going to get on at Johnny Venerable on Twitter, and you're going to pound the table for the Cardinals to go after T. Higgins?
No, I'm saying I would. I don't think they will. I think, and can be honest with you, Bo? I think if you believe that Drew Petzing, who's interviewing with the Chicago Bears tonight, is changing his scheme, he's getting head coaching interviews. You are naive. That man is not changing a damn thing. He's interviewing for a head job. They're talking. They had an 11th best offense in the NFL.
You want to add T. Higgins to that scheme?
Well, no. I would. I think it's the smart thing to do, but they're just. Here's my prediction for the Cardinals. They're going to sign a guard, and they're going to run everything back. And we're going to be sitting here in September, and people are going to be like, why doesn't it look different? Why does this look the same? Why is there 3 tight ends? Where are the wideouts?
You think that Marvin Harrison Jr. is going to look the same?
Save for maybe Marvin.
That's a big save for
Marvin. Marvin led the wide receiving core with 800 receiving
85 yards. Yeah.
That's just not good enough for a team that has aspirations to win the NFC West. You have to have multiple players in that caliber.
Yeah, you would have Marv and Trey McBride, and then you would have the supporting cast.
I think like top 5 in receiving yards for this team. I think a running back was in there. And it's just not the receiving core to me. Like, I think you have to force the issue if you're asking for it. Hey, Drew, we're adding T. Higgins. Figure it out.
Oh, he already realized that you have to really get Marvin Harrison Jr. going. That's the focus of the passing attack next year. And then if you want some complementary pieces, you want to upgrade. So we talk about, like saying goodbye to Zach Pascal and potentially saying goodbye to Greg.
Let's see that
George.
list one more time, Dan.
Yeah.
Bo's comfortable with this list. It's surprising.
I'm not comfortable with this list.
You're only talking about the man in the photo right here.
Yeah. He's the vocal point, right? He's the guy that you took 4th overall, that Kyler Murray said the final 2 weeks down the stretch after they were eliminated from the playoffs was to get him on track. Marvin Harrison Jr. making a big jump in year 1 to year 2 is going to be the emphasis of the passing attack, taking a big leap from this year to next. But, it doesn't mean like, hey, I'm fully content with this being the wide receiver room either, just because I'm out on T. Higgins. And then when I throw a name in there and people are like, Darius Slayton, that's gross. Disgusting.
Don't come in here with that garbage.
I didn't come in there with like Gunnar Olszewski either from the Patriots. Like,
that's not a real player.
Gunnar
Olszewski, sorry.
Come on.
That's not a real player.
Me and my friends actually had inside jokes about him.
That's not a real player. Tell me how to fix this, Bo.
You go out there and I think you add guys that you add a slot. Potentially. You add depth. You add this year's version of Zay Jones.
No, but that didn't really work though.
Right. Well, no, but it didn't help that he missed five weeks due to suspension either. But say like you go out there and you get like, you're not going to go out there and sit at the negotiation table with T. Higgins when you got to be focusing on like the edge defender of like that is, the T. Higgins version.
I just can't believe that we're sitting here and like clearly the two.
Would you rather have T. Higgins or Josh Sweat?
I think I would rather have T. Higgins and Hassan Reddick than Josh Sweat and scrub dirt free agent wide receiver toilet guy. That's what I would rather have. That's what I would rather have. I just can't believe we're sitting here and it's like, hey, what are the two biggest weaknesses for the team? Oh, they can't throw deep and they can't rush the passer. Oh, they can fix both those in March. We're 6 weeks away from the team maybe doing that. Oh no, I don't want to spend what it takes to sign a 26-year-old receiver in his prime. Thanks. I'm going to get me a Darius Slayton. You know what you get with Darius Slayton? Darius Slayton production from the New York Giants. Bo wants to be why don't we sign Danny Dimes too? We have a reunion. Have a nice little reunion at State Farm Stadium. We'll keep this party going here. Coming up around the corner.
What a mean guy. What a bully.
Like this video, we're going to show you just how bad the
Cardinals. Did anybody feel bad for me having to take all these arrows from Johnny today? This is a bad guy.
Interior defensive linemen, the Cardinals were among the worst. Shocker. That's coming up. I'm a nice guy. You know who thinks that? My friends at Desert Financial Credit Union, because it's my credit union. It's also the credit union of PHNX Sports and the Arizona Cardinals. That's because, Bo, for more than 84 years, Desert Financial has been Arizona's largest, most trusted local credit union, dedicating to creating exceptional experiences by giving back to the community, providing financial solutions that make lives better. And folks, it's not just an ATM. It's not just a checking account, although they do have those. Savings accounts, mortgages, loans, credit cards, investment options, and more. Plus, if you're an Arizona sports fan, there's no better place to do your banking than Desert Financial Credit Union. Only place to show your team spirit every time you make a purchase. There it is on the screen. Cha-ching, cha-ching. You get one of the 3 elite Desert Financial debit cards, the helmet, the player, the bird. Rep the Red Sea right now with an Arizona Cardinal Visa debit card. Get started. Go to desertfinancial.com/Cardinals to open up that free checking account today.
Playoff football might be coming to the Valley after all. I'll tell you what that's all about here in just a second. But just because I'm buying a house, maybe Johnny would just suggest, hey, why don't you go buy a $12 million mansion up in Paradise Valley? You need a house. That just makes sense. You go buy the most expensive one. No, that's not what Carol Royce is going to tell me. She's going to find a house that perfectly fits
you don't know Carol.
My needs. What's that?
You don't know Carol? She might say that.
Oh, I know Carol. Carol, of course, if you know Carol, you know the entire family over there with Carol Royce Real Estate Team. Family-owned, locally operated business. 3 generations proudly serving the Valley of the Sun. They're not just going to go out there and you're not going to be house poor. They're going to find something that makes sense for you. An unbeatable track record. Over 12,000 homes sold. Carol and her team, trusted experts. Arizona real estate market. Check it out right now. Of course, you got them for buyers, you got them for sellers. Carol can bring you 6 to 7, sometimes 8 offers, and you just get to pick out the best one. Ready to make your move? The name you can trust in 2025 is Carol Royce. Your home sold, guaranteed realty. Call 480-776-5231. That's 480-776-5231. And visit CarolRoyceTeam.com today. That's CarolRoyceTeam.com. Don't wait. Reach out to get started. Love a nice 480 area code. I'm a 480 guy myself.
House equals party. How about a house poor equals party? Both thinks that the equivalent of being house poor is signing T. Higgins.
Yeah. We're wide receiver poor. We just sank a 4th overall pick and close to $30 million a year.
Just a little splurge. Hey, you ever heard the term treat yourself? That's what the Cardinals need to do this March. Treat yourself.
No, treat yourself is just being irresponsible. That's what that is.
Might have to bring back a certain somebody to help break us down. Treat yourself this free agency period. I think you all know what I'm talking about. There he is. The words of Johnny Raffio, Treat Yourself edition featuring T. Higgins. Thank you, Nico. He is a bully. All right, everybody drop a like on this video. I can't believe you would say Carol Royce hates T. Higgins. That's tough. All right, let's talk about the Cardinals.
Oh, you need a house? Check out Arcadia. I think you can find something there.
People in the chat, we got 1,000 people watching. There are probably people here that live in Arcadia. Hey, that comes to you.
When you got Arcadia money, though, Bo.
Cardinals are top 4 in salary cap. Bo's like, you know what? Let's get some low tier guys. Let's run it back. Let's do what we did last. Let's extend $80
million in actual, what we can use cap wise. Let's go spend $27 million on a wide receiver.
Let's get Julian Okoro on the phone. Let's start talking extension. Andre Pachelia, you are due for a raise, my friend.
That's what you're going to have an edge if you're going and spending $27 million a season.
Okay, they got $90 million. Subtract $27 million. There's still money left over. Desert Financial can teach you how to do that. All right,
got $60 million left.
The Cardinals can't throw the ball deep and they can't rush the passer. Speaking of rushing the passer, here's the Cardinals' interior defensive lineman chart with the rest of the NFL. It tracks 2 things: position spending and win rate. Cardinals didn't spend money, and look, they didn't win either with the pass rush win rate. It's funny how that works out. They didn't spend and they didn't get production. Well, it's funny that we talk about that. Sometimes you got to spend money to get production. You get what you pay. This is the ultimate you get what you pay for, Cardinals. You're slumming it there with the New England Patriots right there in poverty town with your defensive linemen, and you had a 6th-round rookie and Zaven Collins lead your team in sacks. This is what you get. This is what you get, and you're 8-9.
This chart tells me, hey, you got to go aggressively spend on a wide receiver, doesn't it? Isn't that what this tells you? No investments on the D-line and no production from the D-line. Let's go just flush the wide receiver room.
I didn't know we could sign just one player this offseason. I didn't know we were done. One and done.
Well, and that's what's going to be great about this upcoming offseason is it should be very active on both sides of the football, but mostly the defensive side, because as this shows here, especially on the interior of the defensive line, you spent draft capital on it. Unfortunately, you didn't get a whole lot of production from there because of the injury to Darius Robinson. One of your starters is a 6th-round pick from the previous draft. And then you were just, I am surprised that the positional spending, I guess maybe that will kick in next year because you did spend on Jones and Nichols. You just didn't get any production.
Well, when you were spending zero money, and then you increase it to like 12 million. And that's what it was. Justin Jones made 10 million. Bilal Nichols made like 5. So most teams that are in contention are paying their best defensive linemen big money. Like Nick Bosa for the Niners, for instance, is made like $30 million this year by himself. Right. So like the Cardinals, if you're sitting there and saying, well, we already invested in 2 guys last offseason, but it was a losing investment because of who you paid. And again, like, we were sitting there and like, did Christian Wilkins fit the Cardinals timeline? Not necessarily. Could they have used him? Absolutely. And I know, he had a mid-year for the Raiders and that franchise is
got hurt, right?
Yeah, in complete disarray. But most of the time with these edge rushers and defensive linemen, like you're getting quality production. And the Cardinals also, like Leonard Williams, there was a new regime coming in. There was a new coach coming to Seattle with a new scheme, and Leonard Williams was available. And the Cardinals said, you know what? We're going to give money to 2 guys that historically, yes, they play a lot. They're not high-level producers. And Leonard Williams just goes to Seattle. And you can make an argument Leonard Williams cost the Cardinals a playoff spot this year because of how much he dominated those 2 games.
Yeah,
and what
he was a one-man wrecking crew. Yeah. He was a one-man wrecking crew. Not only did they not put him on their team, but he destroyed theirs.
What did he make this? What was his contract? I'm gonna pull it up right now. This is
what do you get? Like 3 years for 66 or something like that.
Yeah, 3 years, 64. Nice job. It's like we're 22
doesn't haunt me at all.
$21 million a year. Would you like? Here's my issue with next year too. Is like I love the safeties that they're paying. You can't be paying big money to 2 safeties right now. When we're talking about all these issues,
but they have the ability to do so. Like those salaries are already on the books, and all the money that you're just out there, spending on
spend so much
extravagant wide receivers. Yeah, I mean they're already on the books. I mean, I think they're going to have a tough time spending. It's like they shouldn't. Like they really should identify. You know, when you talk about it and you've got it sourced, like they want an off-ball linebacker and they want a guard. And what was the third thing?
All defensive linemen.
All defensive line. Well, there you go. Like you need to spend a bulk of that, effective cap space. Let's just call it $82 million. You need to spend, most of that on 4 big time players.
If you're watching on one of our streaming partners, head on over to gophnx.com. Again, we got over 1,000 people watching live. Drop a like on this video. Subscribe to PHNX Sports. Become a diehard. Gophnx.com. I have done this show with my co-host for going on 3 years now. The Cardinals have sat out free agency every year so far.
Yeah.
Undermining Austin.
3 straight.
And then Steve Kimes last year. I've had enough. This podcast, you better be willing to get, we talked about yesterday, you better be willing to get your hands dirty if you're on this show, if you're in this chat, because this team spending measly dollars again and sitting out the first couple days and signing mid to low tier guys ain't going to cut it.
Yeah. Hey, will you give me your real take on T. Higgins? Like, get out of speak for yourself first take mode here.
Can you
and give me your real
of
thoughts
all weeks? Can you stop calling me Skip Bayless and speak for yourself? Can we have a little bit of
just give me
awareness
your real feeling.
My real feeling is that T. Higgins is an elite talent, and he would help the Cardinals get to the playoffs. And if you want to pay him, I have no issue with that.
You believe T. Higgins to be a realistic option for the Arizona Cardinals?
What? No. Do I think they would be interested? Probably not. Do I think it's realistic to win a bidding competition for T. Higgins when you have $90 million? Yes. And I think it's loser mentality if you're like, we're not going to be able to compete. Well, first of all, he's in the biggest poverty franchise that will never spin in Cincinnati, and they have to pay Jamar Chase. There's no way in hell they're paying 2 wide receivers this offseason. And I think for all the people that want Trey Hendrickson, I think there's a better chance they sign Trey Hendrickson than T. Higgins. Trey Hendrickson is defensive player of the year caliber this year.
Mm-hmm.
So 26 years old next week. Who are you paying at the position? You're not paying anybody yet.
You need to be paying edge rushers, interior defensive linemen. You pay a couple offensive linemen.
You brought this on with this. You've done this.
This pounding the table to go after the number 1 wide receiver on the market.
Thank you, Mike. I appreciate you.
And trying to
make
us feel like you believe that when I am skeptical.
You're telling me if they signed T. Higgins on the opening day of free agency, you wouldn't come on the show flipping fired up?
I would be fired up for sure.
No, you would. No, you're not allowed to be now. Now you have to be like, I hate this deal.
Tell me
I don't want the Cardinals to spend. I wanted Darius Slayton. I want to eat, gas station food instead of going to a 5-star restaurant. That's what you want to do. Bo's like, why would we want to go to the playoffs with great players when we can eat a gas station sandwich?
Yeah, what is that? Is that a gas station tuna roll? Yeah, let's.
Hey, Darius.
No, if they get T. Higgins and it's all quiet on the defensive 7 front,
no, it won't be.
I will be like, hey, well, what the hell, guys?
How are they going to score more points next year? How are they going to have more passing touchdowns? Tell me. I want to know.
It's like you get T. Higgins and you match him up with Marvin Harrison Jr. You got Drew Petzing and Drew Terrell with matching Porsches that they're just driving around in the parking lot. Like that's concerning to me. They're just waving at each other.
It's like, hey, Drew, you take that on the interstate? No, just around the block. No.
Merv, Drew Petzing, check it down to Amari after signing T. Higgins to $27+ million.
Drew, what was the thought process not having T and Marvin out there on the last play of the game? I thought Amari DiMercato gave us a better chance to win. We got 13 super chats.
They didn't see it coming, folks.
Did you guys see that draw play ran against Chicago last year? That'll answer your question. This will not be the last time we talk about T. Higgins. We got 13 super chats, but first, we do it every week at this time. It's the playoff version. It's getting gross. Damon, Dawg, lead us into hold or fold the line, playoff edition. Let's check those season standings. Playoffs? You kidding me?
Well, here's last week, Johnny. You want to gloat?
Wow, look at that.
I thought that was Damon's pick. Oh my God. Nice job, Johnny.
Thank you. I'm clawing back my first dub in a while. Patriots money line. I told you I loved Gerard Mayo to sabotage that, and then he got fired. That was the easiest situation to telegraph.
You played yourself, Gerard.
You did. Congratulations. They wanted you to tank. You refused to. Drake May somehow played in that game, but still was pulled, and they still won. So kudos to the Patriots. For
Joe Milton was like the most electric quarterback outside of Bryce Young in Week 18.
Cardinal fans were messaging us feverishly, get Joe Milton to back up Kyler. And I just need this to be over, this nightmare to be over. All right.
Any thoughts on your game? Before I need to say something about mine.
Okay, go
I'll
ahead.
give you the floor first.
No, I don't have any thoughts on my big fat loser Vikings money line.
The New York Giants,
atrocious, by the way.
The New York Giants should be disbanded as an organization after what was witnessed on Sunday. 20-13 loss to the Eagles practice squad. Tanner McKee was playing quarterback. 27 for 41, 269, 2 touchdowns. Drew Lock, a week after a legacy performance in which he destroys the Giants' first overall pick ability, goes 22 for 29 for 138 yards, 1 touchdown, 1 pick. Prime Josh Rosen statistics there out of Drew Lock. Embarrassing. And really, really embarrassing stuff. They got an unbelievable touchdown out of Malik Neighbors, too. Didn't matter. Just the Giants are such a joke.
We don't say that name on the show. We don't say that name here.
Let me pay off the tease. The NFL is got a backup plan with the tragedies going on right now in the LA area with the fires to where State Farm Stadium could play host to the Rams in the Vikings playoff game.
That feels bad.
Haven't we suffered enough?
Yeah, that like the Rams playing a home playoff game in our house.
You know, it would be like the ultimate alpha move, Kyler. Just suit up in full Cardinal uniform and just go out there and throw the ball with Marv, like in the back of the end zone, and be like, "Guys, you were eliminated. This is our stadium, though. We have this area reserved. Go to Kyler full uniform in the casitas for the Monday night game.
Couple red uniforms out there.
Yeah,
this is a statement from the NFL. I'll read to you.
Okay, thanks.
It says, NFL's priority is safety of Los Angeles community. We are grateful for the tireless efforts of first responders. Our hearts are with LA and everyone affected by the fires. We can continue to prepare to play the Vikings-Rams game as scheduled Monday night at SoFi Stadium. As all games, there are contingency plans with the event of change location if needed. In this instance, the game would be played on Monday night at State Farm Stadium in Glendale, Arizona, if necessary. We'll continue to closely monitor the developments in the area and will remain in contact with the public officials, both clubs, and the NFLPA.
Well, we joke around a lot. Prayers up to everybody in California who's impacted by the wildfires. That's terrible. And I guess kudos to Michael Bidwell making that available. Like, this is how you ingratiate yourself with the NFL. Maybe help you get another Super Bowl, or just, making sure that you're available for these other teams. Like, Cardinals are in proximity with Vegas, I guess, is a primary option. So
yeah, they did it once for a Monday night game. Remember, I got free tickets at Sun Devil Stadium. LT and the Chargers were relocated here after there was some wildfires going on.
That sounds electric.
It was amazing. It was free. You just showed up. You got to go in, and it was at old Sun Devil Stadium.
Chargers so much different than the Rams coming in to the Cardinals Stadium playing a playoff game.
What kind of crowd do you think that would be? I would say like overwhelmingly Vikings fans.
Oh yeah,
there would be no Rams fans here.
Yeah. Oh yeah, we might want to see the Vikings. They move. There's a ton of transplants. Like
kind of loving that. If that's the case for my hold or fold pick, I don't know. We'll see. But real quick, I did just have to say, where was this? Which Oh yeah. Johan Dotson, Johnny, 94 receiving yards in that game. Can you believe that?
In your hold or fold pick?
Yeah, on the Eagles last week, 94 receiving yards for Johan Dotson.
Hey, don't sleep on Johan. Johan's a player maybe in free agency I would love for the Cardinals to pursue.
Let's do it.
He'd
That'd be electric.
He'd be in Bo's category of a free agent legitimate signing. Let's look at the season standings here. Am I creeping?
Oh
I'm
my
ahead of Bo. Creep, baby. Creep.
Is this the lowest anybody's been down? Is this the
No. Johnny
Really?
was at 8.
Okay.
Remember?
Bo's really bad at this. I'm winning this week too. My bet's hitting easily. Excuse me. All right. So Damon is going to continue to pick minus 300. I heard he's got Buffalo's money line this week against Bo Nix. Let's dive into it. Let's check out Hold or Fold the Line playoff edition. Playoffs. Bo going with the upset. Cliff Boy, what's your rationale?
Look, these two teams matched up way back when to start the season, and Jaden Daniels was a completely different quarterback. I think that the Commanders are way more battle tested than the Bucs. They've got better and more impressive wins throughout the season. There were games where the Bucs didn't show up. They lost hell to the Falcons twice. Commanders, they disposed of the Falcons fairly easily. I like the Commanders on the road, taking out the Bucs in the wild card round of the playoffs. I'm all in. Give me Dan Quinn. Give me Jaden Daniels. Cliffy boy, let's go. I'm gonna ride the Commanders. Who do we call him? What's his name? Major Tutty? Is that the mascot's name that we once besmirched on this show? Yeah, that's right. I will salute Major Tutty in the Commanders this weekend. I
like it. I will hold with you as well. I think Tampa lucky to win last week. Big emotional win. They got Mike Evans as 1,000 yards. I think they're kind of running on fumes, whereas I expected the Commanders, like many people, to tank at the end of the year. I bet on them many times, lost many times outside of the Dallas game. I think this team is poised for a divisional appearance, and give Cliff a ton of credit that he's been able to keep this team scoring points. They've won a bunch of games I thought they were going to lose second half, so I will hold firmly with you as well. I like that pick.
Thank you. It's guaranteed now, not the cash.
Bo and I talked about this. I'm an honorary Tampa Bay Buccaneers fan in this playoffs. Baker Mayfield, he's the truth. I will not be holding this. I will be folding this as Baker runs up the score on the commies and Cliff Kingsbury.
It used to be Baker touchdown maker. It's now Baker Kingmaker. The guy got his current OC after getting his previous OC, the Panthers job. What's his name? Liam Cohen. He's interviewing for head coaching jobs. Like, people are like, "Oh, you got 40 touchdowns from Baker Mayfield. Like, you must know what you're doing." But like, actually, Baker Mayfield's just a really good quarterback.
Correct me if I'm wrong. Baker went to Texas Tech and was under Cliff and left. So
not great circumstances.
Revenge game for Baker Mayfield.
I think Cliff, though, is 3-0 against Baker. Or no, so he'd be 3-1 because they lost earlier this season.
Cliff and Kyler were undefeated against Baker, though. All right, Damon, let's see your pick. Looks like a nice conservative selection for Damon, Dawg. Let's hear about it.
Johnny, would you mind clicking on it? My mouse just died on me, actually.
Oh, wow. Yeah, I'm happy to take over. Love when I get to do this. All right.
Yeah,
Vikings minus 2.5. Damon.
Yeah,
Dawg.
Vikings minus 2.5, plus 101, teasing it up a little bit. Vikings by a field goal instead of that half point, I believe, is the actual spread there. I'm going with the Vikings because I just think that the Rams aren't very good, to be honest with you. They have a negative point differential, like you've mentioned a few times, Johnny. Just not the best team in the playoffs. And yeah, I just think that the Vikings take care of business there. Defense too good, too many weapons. And if that game ends up in Arizona, I feel even more confident about it because, as we noted, Vikings fans are going to take over that stadium. And that'll be a home game for them. So I like Vikings minus 2.5 there.
Damon, does this answer your question of whether or not I'm holding or folding? Nope, that's the wrong team. The Rams dead multiple times this year. They've never been more dead, and they will lose this weekend. What hurts about this, though, is that the Rams were primed to be slapped around. The Cardinals blew it.
Yeah.
This is the worst the NFC West has been. The Vikings are a much better team, much more explosive. The Rams, this is going to be a year where McVay's like, wow, I can't believe we won the division in 2024. Shame on you, Cardinals, for letting this fraud Rams team into the playoffs. They're not any good.
Yeah. So we're gonna add like a third.
Yes, Damon will.
Death
Damon
date
told me
for
he will.
the Rams.
Yeah.
Okay. All right.
Every tombstone that I've ever seen has 3 death dates on it. I'm holding with Damon. What about you, Bo?
Yeah, I'm holding with him. I'm pretty confident in the Vikings. The actual spread, pick them to about 1 point, and currently it's -1 for the Vikings. Damon just so bold. He only teased it up 1.5 just to get that plus money.
Yeah, I want the field goal. Even though Vikings in the playoffs, that's kind of a scary field goal there. Like
Yeah,
it will
Reichert's not great.
Yeah, Will Reichert going out there with the game on the line like that. Maybe I should have done a touchdown and just gotten real gross with it. But Angel puts in the chat here, didn't Damon say the Vikings would be a first round exit? Yeah, I probably did. I say a lot of things. I still don't believe in Sam Darnold. I just really don't believe in this Rams team.
I believe in you, Damon.
Thank you, Johnny.
So I'm riding with you. And then the coup de grace, the chef's kiss. Ravens, I teased it up, -13.5 against fraud Russell Wilson, who can barely grip a football. +135. I know Tomlin's great as an underdog. I know Zay Flowers isn't playing. Anybody watch the Steelers defense lately? It's atrocious. And then George Pickens is a laughing stock. I hate everything about the Steelers. I think you can't tease this number up high enough. So I would say this is relatively conservative from your boy. -13.5, a dog walking of the Steelers, and could spell the end for Mike Tomlin. I think Tomlin's ready to be done. Get him out of Pittsburgh. Everybody needs a fresh start. And I think the Ravens boat race the Pittsburgh Steelers.
Yeah, Mike Tomlin, after kind of securing that winning record, him and his team just fell apart. 4 straight, you said? They lost, and they haven't been close, including the one that we were subjected to on Christmas Day against the Chiefs? That was brutal. Ah, man, that's such a big number in the playoffs.
That's massive.
I'm out on the Pittsburgh Steelers too.
Same.
Well, yeah, I think the line's like 8.5.
No, I think it's the biggest line of it's even more. It's a larger, more robust line than even the Broncos Bills.
Yeah, it is.
So I do think this is going to be a laugher. I'll hold with you.
Okay, awesome. Damon, what do you say?
Man, I love Lamar. I hope the Ravens come out of the AFC. I think the Steelers are dead.
Yeah, no one's ever been more dead.
But that's such a big number. They played the Chiefs to a closer game than that not that long ago. I think Ravens Steelers going to be closer than that. I'm going to fold, but I think the Ravens win easily.
All right, there you have it. Hold or fold the line, NFL playoff edition. And now back to your regularly scheduled programming here. We've got 13 Super Chats here on a football Wednesday. Let's get it started. Taco, $4.99. Monty approached the last 2 off seasons like Johnny and the Steaks. Time to go for it. How dare you, Taco? Maybe it's going to be good vibes because Taco, I'm going to go to Indianapolis this year, and I'm going to finish a 12-ounce porterhouse steak, and I'm going to do it in record time, and then I'm going to enjoy some delicious apps and desserts. So maybe that'll be a good omen.
We're not going to be clocking you. You're not going to be like the guy's running a 40 in Indy. You're not going to be having a wolf down a steak in a certain amount of time.
I take so much disrespect on this show. Here's what I will say. I went into the 9.99 challenge with an over-under of 3.5, and I finished that damn challenge. And I think St. Elmo's is going to be a walk in the park compared to that horror show that day. At Chase.
Here's what you have to do. This is what you have to focus on, okay?
Okay.
You can't get carried away looking at the T. Higgins. In this case, you can't be eating the bread. You can't be getting your own
T.
shrimp
Higgins
cocktail.
is not the bread. He's not.
Yeah, you got to focus on what's important.
Okay.
And that's the meat.
Here's some meat right here. Libertarian Sasquatch, $1.99. Trade 16 for Garrett or Crosby. I don't think that gets it done. As valuable as a top 16 pick would be for those teams, And I do think both those players are going to be talked about in trades. And I think they're going to be available. At least Crosby feels like a lock to be available, given that they're tearing down the Raiders with a new coach. And
I'm
Brady's
the opposite. I think that Myles Garrett at his age and his number would be more of a realistic option that's going to be on the trade market. Where it's like Crosby, you got him locked in, and like we've seen, like how quickly you can revamp the rosters. Like the Cardinals didn't like have to trade players to create assets in draft capital. Like they use like high draft picks to create more capital and stuff like that. But if you got a player at a premium position at his age, it's just ridiculous to think you would move off.
Steve Kimes burner. I'm buying BJ Ojulari, Elijah Jones stock, freak athleticism. I think both those players are going to be on the team, and I think you just kind of cross your fingers. Anytime guys are hurt as rookies, and then Ojulari's case and the year after, you just take what you can get at this point.
I think that Elijah can play a similar role as Max Melton played this year, as Max Melton will graduate to a bigger role in the defense next year. Elijah Jones can star on teams, and he can, play a couple snaps in the defensive secondary and use, like, this was a red shirt, obviously injury red shirt season for him. And next year will be like his rookie year. BJ, like, he's gonna have to prove it to just stay healthy next season, because now he's faced before the seasons began, been injured, and it's taken him off the playing field. So that's just the biggest key. I hope we get a chance to learn about what a full season's worth of games, or a significant portion of the season's worth of games from BJ Ojulari looks like.
How about our guy Josh? $2. Die hard defensive tackle edge need to get a high draft pick and free agents. I think you need one of each and one of the two outlets. So get a D tackle in free agency and the draft, edge and free agency and the draft. You're just time to raise the talent bar. It's been too long. You've missed on players. You tried to get conservative. This is a great defensive line class too. You really just gotta go for it, Bo.
If they don't get a defensive lineman interior wise in free agency, where are you going to be at mentally? You're going to be able to remain patient, confident that they can address it in the draft?
Yeah, I mean, then it almost becomes a mandate. One of your first two picks has to be that position.
Yeah.
Bo, I'll pose this to you. Big question of the offseason, according to Iron. Do we draft Cam Scatterboo, Bo Brack?
I think it's a long shot that the Arizona Cardinals would draft Cam Scatterboo.
I think it's a lock. I'm saying right now, lock.
Yeah, why not? I mean, nobody's going to hold us accountable. Why not? Let's just say things. Like, there's so many needs, especially on the defensive side of the football, in the trenches, that your first three picks, those should be probably being investments into guys who are going to have significant roles year one.
I don't know if you saw this or not, but in the Peach Bowl, Cam Scatterboo, deep threat, vertical. Libertarian Sasquatch 199. We hit on Darius ? Dude was a bum. BJ Ojulari is cooked. Come on, man. His mom died, and he had a bum ankle all season. He was really good in training camp. He can play. I promise you he can play. We've seen guys show up to training camp, and we're like, that's a miss. That guy can't play. So Darius will be just fine, assuming he stays healthy. How about Cruz, $4.99? Hollywood Brown on a cheap deal. 1 year. Is Trey Hendrickson a free agent? Yes, to the latter, assuming he doesn't get franchised or extended by Cincinnati. The Cardinals want no part of Hollywood Brown. None. Zero.
No.
0.0.
No, Trey Hendrickson is a free agent after 2025.
Oh, he's not a free agent this upcoming year. Okay, so I was incorrect.
I'd quit if Hollywood got brought back. I think I'd quit this podcast.
There's no reason for that. He's not a good player. He's not, I mean, he'll probably win a Super Bowl with the Chiefs this year, and people will be like, Hollywood Brown.
Winner.
That's right, Damon. Yeah.
9 catches, 91 yards in 2 games this season.
That's Tip Ryman-esque. Red Sea, $5. I join and immediately hear JV trying to make a case for T. Higgins, WTF.
That is, that is.
What, the fun? You like having fun?
You open the door and Johnny's just, it's crazy talk right out of the gate. It's aggressively crazy talk. That is, I apologize, Red Sea. Like we pride ourselves on having very educated conversations on this show.
It's great that I'm like, Cardinals probably need to get a receiver, and why don't they go sign the best one available? And Bo's like, you don't know ball. You've never talked about ball in your life. You don't know anything about how this team wants to win. Yes, did they have an egregious passing game? Yes, but T. Higgins.
Let's keep it going here.
Topic 64, friend of the program.
T. Higgs, 10 tutties, 900 yards. That's pretty dope.
He comes back with JT. Jalen Thompson might be on the team. He's on the team right now. He and Budda Baker.
That's the way you've raised it. He might be on the team. And I think he's saying kind of, he might be on the team. Yeah, he's going to be on the team.
My issue is, can you afford to pay two safeties the amount of money that you're paying two safeties?
It's already accounted for, though. Like, how much do you really need to create more cap space?
Yeah, to sign T. Higgins and sign Josh Sweat. No, I love Jalen Thompson. Can they find a way to get enough playing time for Budda and Jalen and Rabbit Taylor Demerson? You think they can place three safeties?
It's a good numbers crunch that they have in this defensive secondary. They got a lot of good players. Yeah, there's that. And then who else we got?
Josh, $10 for Trey Smith guard, Josh Sweat edge, Osa, Damon.
You know, this one this is a tough one for me here.
Odiga Zua and Sherwood would cost you roughly $73 million at last year's cost.
Yeah.
Not enough space to get Higgins and re-sign depth and draft class. Well,
Gazua from Dallas.
I don't want anybody
Big
from
O
defense that's not Micah Parsons.
He profiles a little bit more like Darius. I think you need more beef than Osa.
Those first two names, though.
I like
Josh.
Sherwood. I mentioned Sherwood yesterday.
Trey Smith and Josh Sweat.
Oh, those big slam dunks, huh?
And T. Higgins. Z Rondo MZ $5. Unless Drew's offensive scheme is overhauled, there's no point in using cap space on a receiver. That I do agree with. I saw too much 13 personnel this year. I wanted to throw up. And again, Drew Petzing right now, Zoom call, Chicago Bears, talking about lauding 13 personnel, lauding Amari DiMercato. I'm sure they're bringing up the draw play that broke the back of the Chicago Bears at State Farm Stadium. That's his philosophy. So again, it's foolish to say they need more receiver help, but they clearly do.
You think that Chicago's got like the premium level Zoom, like they're not going to get timed out on these Zoom interviews? Hey, Drew, hold on. We hold that thought. We're going to send you a new link and we'll get you back in here. We'll continue this.
Drew, did you get the password? Did you get the passcode to Zoom? Kevin Warren's like, how do I get my camera to work? Or McCaskey's like, why isn't this camera working? Excuse me, guys. I got to get my McCaskey's.
Click the microphone icon, the headphone icon, and go to audio settings.
Does anybody see me? Oh, yeah. Sir, we have you. Hey, Drew, thanks for coming out.
They start the meeting. Kevin Warren, she's like,
can we just say, too, we got one more super chat.
Kevin, your mic's not on. Your audio's not coming through, buddy. You're muted.
The Ryan Poles, McCaskey, Kevin Warren press availability yesterday is amongst some of the worst stuff I've ever seen as an NFL media person. Ryan Poles, bro, he's done. That guy's done.
What a brain trust.
That guy, they made Michael Bidwell look like flipping who's the Hunt family in Kansas City. That's what they did yesterday.
The ownership malpractice going on right now is just
Shad Khan on a Zoom call with Trent Baalke. He's like, Trent might be around. I don't know.
Yeah, if a new head coach want to get rid of Trent, and Trent Baalke's like Johnny is to me on the Zoom call, and Khan is just sitting there like, yeah, if a new coach wanted him gone, we'd consider it.
Mustache twirling Shad Khan. He's wheeling and dealing.
Well, I personally loved the question from the reporter asked Poles. It's like, what would you say like you've successfully done here? Like what can you point to is a success?
The Panthers trade.
Yeah, I mean,
that's the one. It's
right.
saving his job right now, 100%.
How about when somebody was like, basically asked him about like Caleb overcoming like adversity, like what adversity he faced, and Poles is like, what did he face? And then the reporter was immediately like, OC fired, head coach fired, sacked 68 times. I mean, like, and then you could barely hear him talk. Yeah. Ryan Poles, bro, you done. You were done. But I'm going to tell you right now, the Chicago Bears aren't going to hire Ben Johnson. I texted this to Bo before the show. It may not be Drew Petzing, but it's going to be Drew Petzing adjacent. It's going to be that.
Flores.
No way. If you think Kevin Warren, they're getting a passive guy that's not going to threaten any of them.
Ryan Poles played college ball with Brian Flores.
If Brian Flores is the head coach of the Bears, Caleb Williams might as well enter the trade portal right now. Request for a trade.
If I had to guess right now, I think that'd be the direction that they go.
The McCaskies don't like cussing on Hard Knocks. They're not going to like when a coach cusses out their franchise quarterback, like
and tells him he's a bum.
Yeah,
should have drafted Jaden Daniels.
He MFs him every day in the locker room and dresses him down.
Steve Keim, School of Drinking, 199. Trade for Myles Garrett or sign Micah Parsons. I think the Parson dream is like semi-dead. But Myles Garrett, depends what it costs. David Shepard, 1999. So generous, David. Thank you so much. Hey, guys, David. Happy New Year. JV, I got to disagree with your Higgins take. That's all good, man. All Kyler needs is tall, cheap receivers. I remember earlier this year, he's thrown in the end zone fade to Greg Dortch. Kyler needs big boys. Well, I mean, like, what do you think the chances are, Bo, that they bring back Zay Jones, that they like what they saw at the end of the year, and they just said, let's try again. You're not going to be suspended. They look productive. Zay had a great catch against the Rams, and he had a
good game.
Yeah,
he had best game by a lot. But no, I don't think so. And Zay had a great rapport with the young receivers in that room. He was a great teammate the entirety of the year, even dating back to preseason. I just think that there's paths to upgrading the performance there in that at that position, but also not having to break the bank.
Jeff, you're telling me right now, if they signed T. Higgins and drafted Cam Scatterbo, you talk about season tickets. Inject it. Everybody, the jerseys would be flying off the shelves. Playoff berths would rain from the heavens. I like this. Put it on a T-shirt. Claymore Jones, Monty Ossenford, if you go cheap, 8-9 again. No doubt. No doubt. You can make this team collapse bust proof, even with Kyler Murray's roller coaster post by. But you know what you got to do? You got to write big fat checks. Not Justin Jones or Bilal Nichols or Bo's boy, Darius Slayton, or the Julian Okoros in August. Here's what encapsulates Monty Ossenford from last offseason. From the time that they signed Zay Jones in May, they didn't sign for the rest of until the Baron Browning trade. They didn't make one significant acquisition from the end of May, June, July, August, September.
That's 90% of the team. That's
no, other teams are making trades. They're trying to get better.
Which teams? What are the 14 teams still playing? Really did add significant
Kansas
players.
City traded for DeAndre Hopkins.
Okay.
There's
all
one.
right.
How about that? How about that?
All right. Good one.
But no, like the Cardinals, there were opportunities to get better over the summer, and they punted. They rolled with what they had. And that was
what were the opportunities to get better in the summer?
You're gonna make me. We've already been live for an hour and 33 minutes, and you're gonna make me roll off June and July transactions. I think the point is greater than just any singular transaction. Ossenford opted. He's like, I'm not gonna sign anybody. We're gonna roll with what we have. Correct? Isn't that what happened? They watched Darius and BJ
because the alternatives weren't an upgrade. Like there wasn't an opportunity to improve the team that didn't, stall or stand in front of younger players getting snaps and potentially developing.
Carl Lawson was added to the Dallas Cowboys.
30-year-old pass rusher.
5 sacks.
Oh.
3 more than Baron Browning.
But Baron Browning's 25.
Well, I don't care how old you are if you're not productive. I'm sure there'll be plenty of guys that come in the league next year via the draft and are going to be 20 years old, can't play.
Right.
I want guys who can
play.
You
got to learn that the hard way. You got to be able to You got to be, if you're going to be a draft and develop team, you got to develop guys.
Yeah. I mean, and then when guys go down, we're not, I think it was a bad message to send where guys got hurt and they were just like, this is the team.
Yeah.
Keith Davis, $5. Monty's motto: we don't hire the best, but we pass the savings on to you. Jonathan Castro, $1.99. Would y'all mind Scatterboo in the 4th round? No, that's chef's kiss. That's the dream right there, Jonathan. Open up day 3 of the draft, and you get Cam Scatterboo. I think Scatterboo's going on day 2.
That's where you can get me on board.
That's what dreams are made of on this podcast and this company in particular. I mean, you're sitting on day 3, kind of scraping the bottom of the barrel there, and all of a sudden just local hero drafted to the Cardinals.
No way he makes it to day 3. Zero chance. Zero chance.
I'd say there's a more of a chance he makes it to day 3 than like day 1, like Totry's talking about.
That
guy's a lunatic.
I think he's going to be a 2nd or 3rd round pick. Cam Scatterboo.
3rd. I'll say 3rd. I'm stamping it.
Yeah, to Arizona. Everybody stamp that like button. Man, we've had some fun today, and the good times continue. We're not off tomorrow. We're Monday through Friday, baby. All off season. We are back 4:30 tomorrow, and Bo and I are going to argue again over T. Higgins. No, we promise we won't.
You're going to find another one. You're going to do the Arizona Cardinals need to go sign who are you going to go with? Like Kirk Cousins?
Like this video. Don't listen to Bo. Subscribe to PHNX Sports on YouTube. The goal, we got 1,000 people. Let's get 1,000 likes here on a football Wednesday. And we'll keep you posted. Any pending breaking news. We didn't even get to it. Zach Pascal basically saying goodbye to the Cardinals. Don't say goodbye to this podcast, though. Subscribe wherever you get your podcast, your mobile phone, your smartphone, and leave us a 5-star review if you'd be so inclined. For Damon, Dawg, Bo, Brack, I'm Johnny Venerable. We'll see you on a Thursday.
We all silly like the mayor.